Hi, welcome to the first Frappe.js tutorial.
So yesterday we went through a basic overview of how Frappe.js folder structure has been organized, and also how other apps, other projects can use Frappe.js like accounting and game plan. Today we'll be focusing on uh, uh, the models, which is a very important part of Frappe.js. So I've been talking about models uh, since yesterday, but in Frappe.js we call models doctype. So what is a doctype? So we call it, it is a model. If you have used any other web framework like Django or Flask, they call it model. Uh, so it basically describes the structure of an entity. It holds metadata. It holds fields. We call them doc fields. And also when you create a doc type, uh, database table is created in the database. So there's one more concept which we call document. So document is an instance of a doc type, and it has the actual field values which we described in the doc type. It has methods which we define in controllers, which can be on the client side, server side, or on both. And it is a representation of the database table row. So a database row is uh, is the backend of the document. So let's start. So don't worry if you didn't got all of that. We'll learn by example. So let me fire up accounting. So as we discussed yesterday, these are the models currently existing in accounting. We want to add one more model called event, which will hold if you want to any create events like birthday reminder, or you want to set personal tasks, you want to track them as events. They can be public or private. So let's create one. So I'll go to the models folder in the doc type and create a new folder, event. Looking at other models, we have to have event.js. Let's create that. And we have to export an object. Let's do that. It should have a name. We call it event. Doc type. Fields, which will be an array. And what else? Keyword fields and a single. So we'll talk about a single later. Let's add fields. So in doctypes, as a convention, we use the field name as the unique ID. In other frameworks, it might be ID or UID or underscore ID, but we call it name. So every doctype, it has to have a field with the field name. And have a label, and we can leave it as name, and field type will be data. Create another field. So what data do we does an event have? It has to have a date on which the event is happening. It also should have a title. So let's add title. Then date. Now the field type will be date, which will be helpful because Frappe.js will automatically detect and render a date picker in that field. Now let's go with these for now. After declaring the model, we need to register it in the index file. Let's do it here. This is a standard node require statement. So it will be doctype event. Okay. So let's restart a server. Oh, it has already restarted because node 1 was running. So now we should have event model just by doing that. To confirm, let's go to list event. No, I didn't think it worked. Let me reload. Let's restart the server. So we are getting event is not a registered doc type. And I can't see it here. Let's add a sidebar item so that we can navigate. Okay. So now we have the event list. Obviously, we don't have any records. So let's check what the database holds now. So my DB file is here. So I'll just select 3. This is the DB file which my Electron instance is using. Let's list out the tables. So the command is tables. You will see we have, I think we should have event table here. No. Let me check what is the database. Okay. So let me wipe out the DB file and start again. So this is the settings.json, which is created by the Electron shell, which holds the path of the database. So I think it is this one. So now let's do SQLite 3 and the path of the database. Okay, I need to wrap it in. And now if we see tables, we should see event here. All right, so we have the table event created. Now let's check the fields. I think it is pragma. Let me just quickly check how to. So I'm not an expert in SQLite 3. Okay, I think it is .schema. No. Okay, let's start table info. All right. So you see, we have these fields: date, title, and name. If you can see it here, we have these fields: date, title, and name, keywords. But these fields, you see, owner, modified by creation. These were added automatically by Frappe.js framework. So these are the meta fields. Uh, so it will hold the creation time, the modified time, and some extra fields. So now let's create a record. So now if you go to event list, click on new. Now the form will be generated automatically based on what we uh, described in the model. So let's create an event. So, okay, so we have name, title, and date. So we want the name to be auto-generated. We don't want to import it every time. So for that, go to event model and I think it is, let's check how it is created for item. To do. Okay, so we have this key naming. Let's just do it random. Naming, if you put random, now this field name will be automatically generated for us because we only want to input title and date. Let's restart reload electron. Okay, let's remove, I think we should remove this name field. Okay. JSO is in September. Save. So what you see here is the random name generated by the Frappe.js framework. Now let's check the database. Here we have one row added, and the output of SQLite is not very pretty. Let's use the Frappe API to inspect. So if you have tried or explored Frappe.js code, you will find this kind of API. So Frappe.get doc event, and it is this. So the first argument is the doctype name, second argument is the unique ID, which is name in this case, and we'll await that. Okay, await doesn't work here. So we'll do it dot then. So what I'm writing here is promise code. So if you are not familiar with promises, you should check out Mozilla documentation on promises. So here we get the base document object. It holds all the field values, creation date, and many other values which are filled in by Frappe framework. We also have the field values we mentioned in the model.js file. So this is getDoc API. So I think we have covered a lot till here. We'll take questions. You can use your mic or post questions in the chat. Okay, so the first question is uh, by Daniel. He asks if it is possible to make other fields random. So the random feature is only available for the naming, because in most cases you want the name, you don't want to handle the naming. But if you want it to other fields to be random, you have to write controller code. We'll get to that in a moment. But yes, it is possible. You'll have to write custom code for it. Any other questions? Okay, I think we'll move on. So what we have built till now is very basic data entering and data capturing. So now here the list doesn't look very good. The random name doesn't tell me anything about the event. So if I go to event and I can't make anything of it. So let's customize this list representation. So I think it is done in to do. All right, I'm not here. Okay. All right. So in account.js, we have this list settings, which will modify the behavior how list is generated. Let's copy this. So we want title and date. And we'll show it like, what do we want to show? Let's use data.title on data.date. Let's move that. So now the list is rendered according to what we wrote here. It picks up the title, picks up the date, and now the list looks better. So this is basic list settings overriding. Now, what if we want to write custom code on specific events? So for that, we have to create a document controller. So like the account model, it has account document.js. So we'll also create event document. And you are required to do some boilerplate code. Let's copy that. So here what we are doing is we are importing the base document from Frappe, and now our event document class will be extending the base document and adding any methods we want. So let's add something here. Okay, we'll add alert event. We'll just do this dot title for now. So now to register this document, we have to include it here. So the key is document class, and we have to import it. This is how you register the event document. Now let's reload. Now I'll do what I did before. I'll just do a get doc. So now in this event object, let me store it. Yeah. Now I can access it in temp1. So temp1 dot alert event. We get that method here. So I can call it, and uh, it holds the context. So this means the event, and this dot title means that the title field. So in this way, you can add custom methods in the model class. So this is the way you will do random values in fields, or based on other values, you have to calculate another value. You do all those logic here. Okay, I'll do one more small feature, then we'll stop. So if you have explored through other models, so you will see something like a formula. Let me just check where it is. I think it is in Invoice. Yes. So here you see we have a formula key in the declaration of the field. So let me add another field here. So let's say you want to have a field which will store how many days until that event. So I'll call it days until, and the table would say days until event, and the field type will be simple data. Now I don't want to edit this field manually. I want it to be auto calculated. So for that we have formula, which is a function which will get doc as a parameter. Now you can do what you want with the values of the doc or any other value. So in this case, I want to calculate how many days we have until the event is triggered. So for that, I have to calculate days. So we have the date here, doc.date. And now I'll do what is today. So for dates, we have a library called Luxon. So we'll just do date. We'll import that library from Luxon. It is a date library. You can check out its documentation on GitHub. So now do date time dot local and date. Let's call this event date. The date time dot from. So we'll have to minus event date dot minus mm, not minus. I think it is diff. Yes. So we'll do a diff with other date time, which is today, and diff dot days and return diff dot days. Let's see how this works. We have added this new field. It should be added into the database as a column, and we should see it in the form. Yes, we see it here. Let's create another event. Let's say it is what. So we have ERPNext conference in October. October 12th. I'll save it. Okay, it didn't work. So just console log thing here. Let's try this in the console. Okay, we have to require it. So the console is the great way to test out your code. So we don't have doc. Okay. just add the date manually. So we have def and def.days is 0 for some reason. For some reason it is, I don't think I know the API of Luxon. Luxon date def. Def should return the value at okay. So I think we have to do it is this way. So def as day. So def as days, and we'll just return that. So yes, it works. You didn't have to manually edit this field. It automatically calculated it. So that was all about models and doctype. We'll take some questions and then we'll end the call here. Okay, so Daniel is asking about unit testing. Okay, so we have something set up. Let me just show you here. So we have a single test. We didn't try many tests, but we plan to write many more tests for each and every model. So this is a sample test for invoice model. So here we have to do a lot of things, bootstrap data, and then we test each and every field for the values. So this is an example of how to write tests for models. So in the same way, we'll write test for event as a test event, but we'll not cover that today, maybe in future videos. But yes, we have test set up and we write them using the Mocha framework. So if there are no questions, I think everything was clear to everybody. Okay, so we have another question from Jaffe Joy. He asks, every UI element is generated through the models declared. Is there a way to explicitly create new UI elements yourself? Yes, it is definitely possible. And we'll be needing that. So let me take my current example. So here we have event list and event form. But traditionally, you don't create events using forms. You create events using a calendar UI. So, for example, the calendar in macOS, so something like this, you create events using the calendar UI. So we have to create a calendar UI for the event model because the list and form won't work as well. So an example of custom UI is the reports. So all these models, they are similar, list and form. But if you check general ledger, the view is different. Here we have a report like view. We have these fields here and it is generated using a custom UI class, which is called the report page. So for event, we'll be building a calendar UI, if that answers your question. I hope the concept of doctype and models is a little bit clearer than before. We'll stop the call now and we can also take Q&A in the Telegram group. So thanks once again. Bye.